So I'm Philippe Krief, I work for the Eclipse Foundation, and I will introduce you a research project named Crossminer. And you will see I will switch back and forth between two names, Crossminer and SCAVA. SCAVA is Eclipse SCAVA, it's actually the open source project attached to this European project, which is Crossminer. Crossminer will finish at the end of the year, this year, and SCAVA, we hope, will survive and will grow up, continue to grow up the rest of the years. So, what is all about? All about is what do we do when we look for a component in GitHub? We need to develop a solution, so we are looking for some components. We don't want to rewrite them, so we want to grab some of them on the open source. Of course, we usually have a set of components that we already know, but we might be looking for some components that we don't know, or we don't have. For example, here I took the example of an MQTT broker. It's pretty specific. It's a specific protocol that you use in the IoT, and you might want to have a server which will manage the publish and subscribe process for you, and you look for that, and finally you don't find so many, you find actually too many solutions, so you can maybe dig a little bit more. You have a advanced search in GitHub which give you some interesting inputs, and you can specify, for example, the number of stars, the number of forks, depending on what you want to try to leverage in your understanding of what will be a valuable component in your eyes. But in any case, when you launch your search, I did the first search a year ago, and I reached 1,100 of answers, 1,100 of results. And then I did more recently, just for this presentation, I said, let's try to do it again. Maybe the number has changed, and actually I reached 1,400. The problem that we have, it's on GitHub today, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at the About page, but on GitHub, the number of millions of repositories has reached 100 million. So how do you select these guys? How do you find the guys you really want? Based on several criteria. And what kind of criteria you are looking for? Of course, well written. You want to have some code which is well written, which means not only the fact that it respects the best practices of the development and the best design patterns, but just the fact it's well commented, nice copyrights written, and so on. But also you are looking for some code which is also maintained, not dying on some side. You are also looking for some code which is also is based on maintaining libraries, because some code is maybe based on the libraries, and these guys just are tired of updating their code every other day because there is a new version of the libraries they are using. So they just decided to stick to some old version, and they just keep it running until maybe they will discover there is a big security issue in the libraries they are based on, and you are depending on these guys. You also maybe are looking for a repository which is interesting based on the activity of the community. How active is the community? Is only one guy? You have a buzz effect if finally the guy decides to switch to another project, or it's a company and who initially worked for free and now they decide to sell it, and how do you manage the situation? You also maybe are looking for a community which is friendly with you, because for you it will be very important, this component. You don't know about all this technology. You are discovering, for example, IA, big data, or whatsoever, so you really need to have this kind of support from this community. So if this guy bashes you as soon as you ask him a question, then it might be an issue. And finally, also, you are working in specific domain, and maybe this component is very interesting when you are in the IoT, but maybe another one will be much better if you are dealing with banks, and third one will be even better if you are dealing with something else. So your competitors might be using some components, and it might be a good idea to use the same, or maybe to use the other one, but to use the same to reach at some point sort of compatibility with your competitors. So it's all about the Crossminer project. So it's a European project, H2020 project. We are 13 partners. I would say half and half. You have academics and SMEs mainly involved in this project, and pretty advanced developer. We have two open source foundations, OW2 and Eclipse involved. And it's all about providing these data miners, to analyze not only the source code, of course, but also all the assets around the source code. It's what is very interesting and important in Crossminer is say a project is not only the source code and the comment and license, which are obviously very important, but also to understand how the community behaves around this project. So you need to go through the backtracking systems, so different communication channels, and other forums and so on. So now Eclipse is involved in a research project since 2013, and we're usually invited to just to help our partners to open source the code. In this case, we're also interested by the project by itself, because we also have a community of developers. We have more than 360 different projects, and we need to provide this, to leverage the project that we are delivering and the quality of the project we are delivering with a tool which will be able to show the quality of the code that we are delivering and the quality of the community around this code. So we have two main kind of users. We have only consumers, so these guys that can be individual, can be all the source teams, open source team, or company who are just want to grab some existing projects and just want to reuse them. And we have, of course, developers who, as a contributor, they want to also to have a vision of how their own project is perceived from the outside, and as well as they want to be able, during their development process, to say, okay, today I'm using this piece of code, maybe there is a similar open source project that I could use, which might be more efficient, more adapted, more well maintained. Maybe this one is dying, so I should switch to another technology. How should I do that? And I can be helped by a tool. So here's the kind of needs that we find on consumer. Code quality, as I mentioned, as I will not repeat. Sustainability is very important, of course. Process maturity is also something very important in terms of do they fix regularly the bugs? How much time does it take between the bug is submitted and the bug is fixed? Fit the purpose, so in terms of also, as I mentioned, different domains, the interest of domain, and of course the popularity of the community, how the community behaves. It's what usually consumers are expecting. And developers, they also expect code quality, of course. Recommendation, they might say, okay, I use this library. Can you give me some snippet code, some good example of how using these APIs? So it's something also very important. And you should be able to find them based on some other example you can find, for example, on Stack Overflow. Of course, the process and the community as well. So Eclipse is involved in this kind of quality assessment already for several years. We already were using this vintage Eclipse dashboard. Maybe some of you know about it. So each Eclipse project was able actually to connect and to have a sort of raw data about their project. So it could be interesting to have this kind of vision, but it's where raw data, and we can talk about that a little bit later. And another project, Polaris Maturity Assessment, which is developed by the company named Castalia Solutions, and these guys they try to aggregate some data to provide more semantic based on what you want to leverage in your understanding of the metric that the tool is able to bring to the system. So we want to continue in this direction to address more projects, to be more easy to use, to deal with more than just raw data, and we'll have some example with ProSoup described by Cedric, and then the practical and contextual recommendation for our end users. Okay, so he's already mentioned that, so the business model around the Crossminer and what the Eclipse Foundation would like to get. So how does it work? So we have a bunch of miners which go through all the set of servers, Git servers, so Bugzilla, mailing lists, forums, and they collect and they grab all this information and the history of this information, of course. And so we have natural language analyzers, we have configuration analyzers, source code miners as well, and we gather all this information and all the metric extracted from this miner in a knowledge base. And then, so for the source code, we are able to extract quality measurements, patterns, from text mining, community emotions. It's one aspect that I like the most in this project, but it's personal test. Also another interesting aspect is cross-project relationship, so you really can see how your project is built and the dependency with the project to find either similarities or strong dependency with some existing components, and maybe they are old components, system configuration, and knowledge extraction, as I mentioned before, snippet code and Stack Overflow, which are two examples of extracting knowledge from the code. So from this database, we can go through, I will not go in detail, but maybe Valerio will mention that we have extractions of a data warehouse, which is actually Elasticsearch database, and on top of that, we have a Kibana dashboard. You can build your Kibana dashboard. It's adapted actually, so it's customized for this reason. It has been renamed Kibiter. We have also an Eclipse plugin that you can install in your workbench, and you can have some search, dedicated search to find the libraries that you are looking for and deploy the libraries that you are interested in. And alternative libraries if you want to switch to another kind of libraries. And you can have some code assist and recommendation on some APIs. And of course, you can directly access to the database with REST APIs and extract some raw data. And I took this example to show you what kind of information you can extract. I grabbed some sentiment information about some comments on a project, and if you add some weight on this raw data about each sentiment, so is a sentiment mean love, anger, sadness, what else? Joy, and the two others, I mean, it's forgot the two others, but there are six of them. 6 of them. So if you add some weight on each of them, okay, thank you. Surprise, joy, and sadness. Okay, and if you add some weight, so you can like that have a description. You get. Oops, sorry. You have a vision of a project and the mood of your community around your project. So you see that your initial interest after that is pretty flat, maybe because there is not too much activity on your project, and then suddenly there is some new release, so lots of interest, lots of excitement, and maybe that at some point that they find some bugs, people not react enough quickly, so people are unhappy with what you are delivering, and again, so you have you can have a representation, very simple and quick representation of the community and how the community behave on your project, if it's a reactive community and so on. So it's this kind of interesting information that we want to be able to extract from the data that we are collecting with these different miners. So for now, at the level of this project, we are extracting the data and we are working in presenting this data in the best way, and we will show you some example later on with Valerio and Cedric. So to summarize, we have 4 major features. We have, of course, admin UI to select a different project we want to analyze and all the different servers and data we need around this project. So the data mining is done all this project. We have ProSoul, which does all the quality attributes and quality models, so you can describe aggregation of different metrics and generate more advanced level data on your project. And you have Kibana dashboard to graphically represent this information. And finally, you have the Eclipse plugin to manage that at the developer level, so you can have a project search and similarity management and code recommendations. Quick, because it's my role also to mention that we have an EclipseCon event happening this fall. You are more than welcome. We're at the middle of talk, so the talk will. You can submit a talk if you have a talk on this great subject as well. And I finish with some pointers, so feel free to go and to follow this community of this research project. It's a very interesting and very promising project. So you have a mailing list and also a reference of the metrics that we are using here.